how to finish attempting all the questions. It is very critical to write the entire 250 marks. Otherwise, you end up not getting very high marks. Last year, the trends were that those who completed the paper found themselves in top 100 ranks. So, give a strategy of 7, 8, 9. In the first hour, you ideally take 5 minutes to actually understand the question paper. Try to see whether there are 20 questions or 25 questions, how many words limit is there for each question. You try to see the question paper 5-10 minutes, and first 2-3 questions your thought process will be very slow. You will be not writing fast. So in first hour, ideally you should write try to finish 7 questions, and second hour you try to finish 8 questions. In third hour you try to finish 9 questions. So you'll end up attempting all the 25 questions. So this is a golden strategy. In last hour your hand will be, the writing speed would have increased, the thought process would have been much better. So you will try to write the most of the remaining questions in the last hour. So this strategy you can use, and if there are 3 pages which are given, try to fill at least 2.5 pages. Don't try to fill most of the spaces, which is actually it's one of some kind of a trap. If you try to fill all the space, you will not end up in attempting all the questions. So try to fill. Another thing is whether to use the diagrams, whether to use pencil, pen, or what can be done. Try to use graphs, try to use blocks or flow charts, which will actually be able to represent data in a much simpler and very comprehensive manner. It gives a much better picture. Other thing is trying to highlight certain keywords in the answers. So don't, if you have time, then you can use a different pen. Otherwise, if you are writing in black or blue, anything with that, you underline the keywords or some quotes what you are quoting, so which actually catches the attention of the examiner. Generally, it should be kept in mind that examiner is correcting lot of papers, and they would have evaluated several thousand papers over the years. So how to make it very different, very comprehensive, that is the challenge. Within, say, each question has to be addressed within 7 minutes. Try to break the monotony in the question answer papers what you are writing. Try to make a different representation, or try to give very comprehensive picture. More comfortable would be to use bullet points. That would give more confidence that you have covering different points for the same question. I think that's all. So in this question there are two tier. You have to identify the concepts which are there in the question. So in this question there is one concept called basic structure doctrine of judiciary. This is one concept. Second thing is about thriving democracy. These are the two things: basic structure doctrine and democracy. In this context, they are asking what is the role of Indian judiciary via judicial activism. So try to understand that this is a concept, this is a broad concept. So within this, they are asking about the role of judiciary and judicial activism, how it is deepening the democracy. So you can say that there is a big body of literature which is written on basic structure doctrine, democracy, how it is happening, judicial activism, etc., etc. One major mistake what everyone tries to do is they'll first half page they will write about basic structure doctrine, how it got evolved, what is basic structure doctrine, and then they'll talk about judicial activism, how it is putting checks and balances, etc. This is not what UPSC is trying to ask you. So they are setting a context. Within this context, they are saying how this judiciary is trying to deepen the democracy. So try to have a small divide your answer sheet. So this will be a small introduction here. Don't try to give a big introduction, just 1 or 2 lines. And then you have the body, and the next page here you can write the conclusion. So introduction, try to hit directly on these two concepts which I have asked, and try to link how judiciary is trying to deepen democracy. Then in the body you can there are different you can try to write in points. There are 3 methods which I will give you. One, you can write the body in the points, which actually shows that you have a lot of confidence that each point is a independent idea, and you are able to generate different dimension, different perspective of this whole 2 concepts which they have asked. So this is a way of writing a type of answer. Second thing is, if you write in points, you will be able to think in a very multi-dimensional perspective. So democracy, you can say how deepened the democracy is. Think from sociological perspective, how poor are benefited, how women are benefited. Try to bring in gender issue, culture issue. Try to just give a brief historical perspective of this, and try to include different cases. You can try to enrich your answer with different dimensions, so it will give a lot of value addition. Finally, you give if this is about just they are asking, throw a light and evaluate. They are asking you to evaluate. That is the whole point. So you try to give your final evaluation, whether the judiciary via its judicial activism has deepened democracy or not. You can take any stand. You just have to justify your stand via your points and conclude the statement. This is one thing. Second style of writing would be to write in small paragraphs. So try to write, it actually all depends on the type of question that are asked. Don't have any mechanical preset mind, but try to use different styles of writing so that it breaks the monotony. Third kind of thing is, try to use any diagram, try to give flow charts, try to use graphs, try to give appropriate headings. That would actually break the monotony. It will represent data in a much more representative way. So this is another style of writing. The fourth style of writing is try to use words like first, second, third, so on. So this will write 3-4 lines here. So it will try to give the examiner that you are writing different ideas, different points, but in a paragraph style, so he will not be lost in the answer itself. So these are the different styles of writing the answer. So this is the second type of question which UPSC is asking. I'll take a question from 2014 in paper 2. They are asking, what do you understand by the concept of freedom of speech and expression? So this is the first part. The second part is, what do you understand by hate speech? What do you understand by hate speech? Why do films in India stand in a slightly differently plane from other forms of expression? So this is a different type of question where they are asking 3 sub questions in a question. So each one is this is a very broad topic, freedom of speech and expression. Try to give what is this, what articles are related to this, and they are asking whether it covers hate speech also in this. So they are trying to come from a very broad topic to a very narrow topic, and in the final part they are asking your opinion on films. How films whether they are portraying some hate speeches, whether they are commodifying certain objects or commodifying women. Certain things have to be written So this is another type of format which UPSC generally asks. This time there were 4 or 5 sub questions in the question. So general mistake people try to do is in a 2-page try to give equal weightage to each of these subparts. Don't write entire 2-page on freedom of expression and hate speech and try to just write 1 line or 2 line on films, which actually is the most important part because they are asking your opinion. Try to just give a brief introduction and then give what is hate speech and try to give more emphasis on your opinion. How within this broader context, what is your opinion? So this is what is the second type of question which UPSC asked. There was another set of question which came in paper 3, which was on again different concept. It was on policy, national urban transport policy, which emphasized on moving people instead of moving vehicles. So they gave a statement right from the policy document itself. So if such questions are taken from the document or they are taken from preamble of any of the government schemes which are running, so try to see certain statements, popular statements which are coming, and try to quote from where it is actually from the introduction. In the introduction, try to attack the question directly. Try to quote from where it is taken, or if there is some famous person who has written on this, try to attack the question there itself. So here they have asked critically discuss the success of various strategies of the government regarding the urban national transport policy. So some questions you are completely blank, you have not read about the topic. So how do we approach such questions? So generally, if you are having time, you try to take broadly what are the components of transport, try to integrate different components of transport, try to give critical evaluation of that, and try to give a balanced approach to the whole question. Another thing is regarding current affairs. Current affairs is related to most of the things. It comes in international relations. Almost all the questions related to international relations are from current affairs. In paper 2, polity is also related roughly to current affairs. Whatever has debates or any discussions which are going on recently, so those are the trigger for the questions. In paper 3, economics, environment, science and tech, these generally are from current affairs topic. There was a question, there was a newspaper article in Hindu in December 3rd, 2014, which talked about information technology agreements. There was an article, Hindu article on this on December 3rd itself. The exam was on December 14th. So you cannot neglect the current affairs. So they had asked about information technology agreement, why India is not signing this, why, what has to be done, what are the critical assessment. So generally people tend not to read about current affairs. So try to read current affairs till 1 week before the exam and quote the exact context on what they are asking in the first line of the introduction and try to address the question. So these are the important points. That's it, I think, sir. Ethics, should I tell?
Let's see. You are comfortable with that, sir.
Next, coming to the GS papers. How do we approach the GS papers? $1 million question is which an ideal answer for GS paper. There are questions whether UPSC has a key, whether they use a format for checking UPSC all the answer papers. So these things actually bother us, and we try not to attack the general science general papers in a very comprehensive manner. So common mistakes what everyone does in GS papers is not understanding the question itself. So first thing is try to understand the question. So other thing is people tend to write whatever they know on the topic and not try to address the question what the paper is demanding. Third thing is their questions. People tend to write question which they know the most, spend more time on the question which they know the most, and try to neglect. So ultimately, you end up not finishing the paper. So these are the common mistakes what people do in GS papers. So roughly till in GS papers, in paper 1 we had 25 questions and 200 words of each 10 marks. So this was in paper 1. In paper 2 we had 20 questions which was of 12.5 marks, and the page number of pages given were 2 pages for 10 marker questions. Here we had 3 pages. So roughly if you take, there are 180 minutes, 3 hours. Roughly if you take 5 minutes for filling up the form, etc., you have left with 175 minutes. And if you divide that by 25 questions, roughly you have 7 minutes per question. So you have just 7 minutes per question. So you have to try to understand the question, try to analyze, try to structure, and then write the whole question in 7 minutes. So this is a very tough task. One has to be aware of how to divide the time. So we can each question I will divide them into different parts. One is there are key terms like discuss, elaborate, examine, analyze, critically analyze. So these are the different terms which actually each question will have. So we'll get into the definition of these terms. What is the expectation if they someone asks about, say, discuss. So classical example would be say a question, discuss about the functions of Union Public Service Commission. So if they ask something like this, everyone tries to write broadly what is given in the Lakshmikant. If there are 2 pages, they try to fill 3/4 of that 2 pages from the knowledge which they have learned from prelims itself. So say discuss about Union Public Service Commission, if that is the question asked. So general mistake what people do is they will try to write these are the functions of UPSC, this is headed by this, so many members are there, it conducts so many exams throughout this year. So this is not that is not discuss, that is not what is the expectation of UPSC. So what you have to say if they are given a question like discuss. So the UPSC, they are expecting that you try to give your overall analysis of UPSC. You can say how UPSC, you can for discuss you can give 60 to 70% positive points. Try to give certain critical analysis like some loopholes what are there, how it can be improved, and then give a conclusion. So you can say that try to give about UPSC how before they were not giving much information, but they are disclosing now information via RTI, certain things like that. Or we can say how accountability of UPSC is there, how independence of UPSC is still preserving, and then you can give some critical points on UPSC and then give a concluding statement and a way forward. So this is what expectation of certain keywords like discuss. Second one is analyze. When a question is asked to analyze and they are given a statement, for the analysis you have to break down that whole question or the topic which they have asked into different parts. Try to analytically think which are the parts, subparts, and try to give analysis of each of those parts. Next one is examine. Examine, you try to if there is a question, examine or evaluate. So these are the two terms. There is subtle difference between examine and evaluate. Evaluate is generally for certain schemes where there is already certain things which government has done and they want to you to evaluate how it has actually performed. Examine is you try to give different perspective, different dimensions of the topic, and you try to give your own views on this. So then with this they can add critically discuss, critically analyze, critically examine. So critically discuss doesn't mean that you try to fully criticize the whole topic. It says that you have to critically think and why they certain questions which they ask, critically discuss or critically analyze. There is a general consensus that there are certain loopholes in the topic which they have asked. So they are expecting you to critically analyze that topic, try to identify the loopholes and try to give the solutions for it. So this is how you have to break down the question into different parts, try to gauge what is the UPSC's expectation out of that question and try to attack the question right on its head. So we'll take a question from 2014 trying to explain another concept. So there was a question in paper 2 which says that starting from inventing the basic structure doctrine, judiciary has played a very proactive role in ensuring India develops into a thriving democracy. So this is the first line, and they have set the context. What UPSC this time in 2014 mains, they gave very long questions. It means that they are trying to set the context of the question. Here I am going to give a general overview of social sciences options like sociology, history, public administration. Many of the aspirants are either from engineering background who are who are taken social sciences option and they find it difficult to approach the social sciences paper. Generally, regular touch with the editorials in Hindu paper would be able to generate much more confidence in reading any of the social sciences topics. You can take an example of sociology as an option. So, which is each social sciences has its own body of literature, thinkers who actually have given various theories, the concepts. So these are the syllabus spans with the thinkers and the different concepts and how contemporary relevance of each of the topic has to be written. So you can take sociology. If you take there are thinkers. There are thinkers, there are various topics on social issues like religion, politics, education, women. So there are various topics which different thinkers have given their different opinions and the current affairs relevance. So each of these topics has a current affairs which is actually running, which actually the Daily Hindu's newspaper is actually covering. So your answers mostly should try to have these three components in it. Any question you try to address should have minimum 2 to 3 thinkers, be it Indian thinkers or foreign thinkers, depending on the paper you can use them. So and try to use contemporary relevance, try to quote what exactly contemporary issues the topic is being asked. If there is a topic on communalism or if there is a topic on gender issues, try to quote the recent incidences, what are happening, what is government responses and what different schools of thought, that is thinkers, they are giving their opinions, and try to give a very sociology perspective kind of answers. Don't write general studies kind of answers in any of the social science paper, because each of the social science paper has its own jargons. Try to use the jargons so that instead of you using something like dialectical materialism, you try to explain that in sentences. You will try to eat up all the space. So try to use jargons in social science paper and don't use too much jargons in general science general studies paper or essay paper. So you'll end up if because those papers are corrected by may not be corrected by any social science professor there, so they may not understand what you are trying to say in that general studies paper. Use jargons and other literature, body of literature, what is there in the respective subject.